Hello. Hello. All right, we're at 7 seconds. So I guess we are live then. So, anyways, I just read a few books this last month and I got them done. And I found that they were all very interesting. Two of them were nonfiction, one of them was fiction. They were all very good. But, anyways, here I'm just going to start talking about them. So, I guess I'll start with Dune here, the science fiction novel. I think it's from the 60s or 70s. And I heard the movie was coming out, and that kind of made me want to read the book and everything. Because I remember one of my friends back in high school, he read the books and he seemed to really be really enjoying them. But then I thought, wow, those look so thick. And then yeah, but I'm glad I didn't read this when I was in high school. I don't think I might have been mature enough to really handle it. Like it's, I don't know. Then again, I was a pretty sharp kid, so maybe I would have been able to handle this book. But anyways, I found it very interesting, like how he had the Arrakis, or some Arakeen is I think is called the planet Arakeen, or some like it's very close to the word Iraqian. So, and then there's another one where it's the Bene Gesserit is the secret religious order, what sounds just like the Jesuits. So, anyways, he had a very good take on everything with that. So, I guess first I'll talk about like the religious aspect to it, which I found very interesting because we follow Jessica, who she's not the main character. Her son Paul is actually the main character. She was initiated from childhood into the Bene Gesserit order, which is some kind of order, and then they have like their Bible is called the Orange Catholic Bible. So it's like it's clear he's clearly like the author here is clearly using Catholic symbolism and whatnot to kind of show that, oh, it's a similar hierarchy that might have been like inherited, because I think in the Dune universe it actually is supposed to take thousands and thousands of years in the future rather of our world, rather than just being a completely separate world from us, like Star Wars or something. So this is okay, and then he's like, okay, so this is how kind of inherited from those hierarchies. We have the Bene Gesserit order. So basically, but Jessica, she seems to be, what do you mean? She seems to be like a very, what do you call it, a pragmatist the entire book, where she just kind of looks at religion as oh, it's a good means to an end for controlling masses of people. And then because the Bene Gesserit would give her training to be able to, like, in rhetoric and being able to read people and conversations and persuasion and everything. So she's like a master of that. And she, of course, conferred all of her teaching onto her son Paul, the main character. But still, anyways, staying on Jessica. Jessica's arc was eventually she got pregnant. She was pregnant for the first two books of there's three. The book is divided into three parts. So for the first two parts of of Dune, she's pregnant, but like early stage pregnant. Nobody can really tell. But so then she's pregnant, and then she eventually has to. Once the plot starts really rolling in the first 300 after the first 300 pages. Guys, look at this. This thing's bigger than a brick. Anyways, when she gets with the Sand People, which are called Freemen in this one, which are highly based upon the real life, like I guess nomadic Islams of Iraq and Iran, those people. Anyways, she gets put into there, and then she gets to put into their religious hierarchy as a reverend mother, which I guess would be an equivalent to like a pope or the bishop or somebody. And but basically she has to take, but then of course Frank Herbert, the author, incorporates like the use of drugs and stuff into their religious rituals. So then it's she takes these drugs, of course, and then of course it hurts her embryo, the fetus, her baby, But she takes this drug thinking that it was going to be harmless, because she thought like the whole religious thing was invented purely just for a means of control. As she was even in this previous chapter, she's like, oh wow, these free men will, as they are exiled from the standard sci-fi community, her and her son, that is her, yeah, what do you call it, the elite ruling class. As they get exiled from there, they have to go live among the freemen. So then she's like just talking to these freemen about their religion and everything. She's like, "Oh, I'm so glad there's clearly a Bene Gesserit missionary here that taught them everything that about these prophecies and stuff, and me and my son can fill in these prophecies. So not only won't they kill us, they'll treat us better than normal." So it's just about the whole indoctrination of those people, and that's her attitude towards it. And then she actually ends up like becoming a reverend mother, which is what they call them, the leaders of their leader priests of their religious orders. And then when she does that, she actually gets connected to like all the previous reverend mothers. Like they're kind of living in her head, but not really. I mean, they are living in her head. She can consult them at any time she wants, but she's like still ultimately she's still in control of her body and everything. She can just consult them and know their thoughts and everything. So it's very very trippy like that. And then so then and then I think that changes her whole aspect on the religious kind of thing, because it's like, oh crap, this stuff is actually real. And then of course that happens to her baby that was in her womb. The same exact thing happens where she has all these old ladies living in her head, and then she is basically talking, remembers everything. Everybody considers her daughter to be a freak. Anyways, her daughter's really not that big of a character in the book. She has a kind of comical scene with the villain at the end, the Baron, but I'll get on that. So then next, I guess we have Paul, who is the son of Jessica the whole time, son of Jessica and what is it? The guy's name? It's not a Baron, he's a Duke. Yeah, the Duke at Leto Atreides, I think it is. Yeah, anyways, they're the good guys, and basically, so I guess I'll go for the major plot of the book, which is basically the three Atreides, the mother, the father, and the son, get sent to this planet called Arrakis, which is sometimes just called Dune, because the entire planet is just a big pit of sand. Is just a big pit of sand. But there's also this mysterious substance intermingled with the sand called spice, and the spice is basically the same is a drug people use throughout the galaxy. So there's that. But if we're doing the real world parallel, I guess the spice would be the equivalent to oil in the Middle East. But anyways, going on with that. So they're just kind of shipped in. They're kind of parachuted in on. They come in on their spaceships, and they're like, oh yeah, we're in charge of this planet now because of what the Emperor did for us, right? And then of course, so then they of course go through the character developments and whatnot. Like, oh, his dad is actually a heroic person who actually cares more about saving his men and his people than just making a profit from mining all the spice. However, it's hard to mine all the spice in the sands because there's giant worms that come up and eat everything that is making a racket on top of the sands. So they have the problem with the giant worms. And then, of course, the giant worms get worked into the whole religious structure of the freemen, because the freemen not only are not afraid of the worms, they can ride. They get hooks on the worms, like, because if you think about worms, they have like little segments and they expand and contrast, and that's how they move. Well, that's how these bigger worms move, and they just get hooks on their giant rings or on their segments, and then they can just have the worm drag them across the desert, and it's pretty funny. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So Paul. So the thing about Paul, he has the proper leadership qualities everybody looks for. He has a lot from his father's side, but he also has all the Bene Gesserit training from his mother's side. And then, so what am I saying? Yeah, Paul is a really good hero here, and then but he is rumored in like the first two. He goes through. Okay, so I guess the main scene of the entire book, like one of the biggest scenes in the entire book, is I think it's in the first or second chapter. In order to get initiated into the Bene Gesserits, he has to go through the Gom Jabbar kind of a treatment where he puts his hand into a box, and the box basically causes him pain, and it's told that if he also flinches or takes his hand out of the box, he will die because they have like a poison needle right to his neck, and that's one of the main weapons that a lot of the higher class, the aristocracy of the DUNE world uses, is poison needles. There's a lot of that throughout the entire book. Anyway, so he keeps despite having a lot of pain, he keeps his hand in the little box, and then it finds out, oh, his hand is actually okay. It was just a trick. So then, anyways, yeah, but at least read the first two chapters of this book. It's really good. Then what? So then, basically, Paul is then rumored to be this next kind of prophet of the Bene Gesserits, because the Reverend Mothers, of course, they all have to be female to go through that process. Any male who tries to go through the process ends up dying. But there is rumored that there is male eventually, or not rumored, there's prophesied that there will be a male that can go through the process of becoming a Reverend Mother, and of course they are rumored that, oh yeah, we've been using what do you call it? They've been very impartial to eugenics this entire time with the Bene Gesserits. Like, oh, we need to get just the right kind of royalty lines with just the other kind of royalty lines, because the Bene Gesserits, they're kind of outside the royalty, and they kind of get inducted, and then they go off and marry different people, and it's all part of this big eugenics breeding program so that they can get this one male. And it's, of course, it's going to end up being Paul by the end of the book. It's like the second or third chapter from the end of the book that he actually goes through this process. And when he does go through this process, he becomes, like, I guess, more enlightened or something. Like he says he's more in the now than he's more in now. He can't see the future, he can't see the past, but he can see everything that's going on right now. So where it's kind of like space and time becomes the one thing. It goes on and on about this. It's a lot like that one trippy Pink Floyd song where it's that they actually play during the Dune trailer for the new movie coming out. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's a good book. It took about 300 pages to really get rolling for me. Other than the first 300 pages probably took me about 2 months to read. Then the next like 500 pages probably took me less than a week. So it was one of those books. It was once after those first 300 pages, it really picks up, and it's really, really actually a quite good book. Anybody else I should be mentioning in from that book? I guess you have the Baron and his family, the Harkonnens or whatever I think they're called. They go on like, oh yeah, it's all about these people who are plotting 3 times to just stab their relatives in the back so that they can stay in their little piece of power. He gets really humbled in the end by, first the Emperor comes in the room, and he's just like, you didn't know all. This Baron thinks he knows everything, and then the Emperor just comes in and says, you know nothing, and he's really embarrassed. And then the little girl, of course, the daughter who got the daughter of Jessica, who got all those old ladies living in her head, comes in there and even humiliates him even farther just by calling him a big fatty and whatnot. But still, it was a pretty epic throne room scene, I guess you can say. But yeah, they're always trying to like backstab each other with poison needles and doing all this, and then trying to plant little prostitutes so that they end up. I mean, the Baron is confirmed pedophile, so, and then they're like, well, if we plant these needles on this one he might get poisoned, and then once he gets poisoned, I can take his power. But then of course the uncle, like the Baron, he really does a good. Frank Herbert does a good job at really portraying evil. I guess he understands it. Then anything else I want to say? Oh, I guess we can say about my trailer reaction generally to the trailer. I thought they did a good job choosing that Pink Floyd song with the all that you are, but it's like kind of just the past, present, future. It's all one kind of thing where it's the Holy Trinity. I don't know. It's a very interesting that they chose that piece, which is good. I really thought that with the mask thing, like how they are always talking about the masks in the desert, I really thought they were going to make them look like medical masks to make everybody think like they're heroes for walking around in medical masks. But then it's like, oh no, they just have like this little tube with the nose, and that's all that's covering up their face. The rest of their face is not covered up at all. And I was like, okay. That's like that's interesting. They made that choice. I thought for certain they would choose like to make it look like medical masks, just because I guess so. Then they had the Harkonnens I saw in the trailer, look just like a bunch of white lizard people, like pale white. I'm talking about chalk white, like lizard people who are all bald, and it's just like, oh, okay. I don't know if that. I don't know. Kind of, I always kind of imagined them as actual humans, so as actually more human, had more humanity, so the evil in them is more disturbing, but at the same time just marking them off as lizard people is okay. What else? I think it looked like they used the one chick from Spider-Man Homecoming to be the love interest for Paul, and Chani is her name. Yeah, I always, for some reason, reading this whole book, I thought Chani had like blonde hair, and it was always just talking about her hair flowing in the wind and everything. And it's like, okay, I for some reason imagined it blonde, but I actually looked up like different artists' renditions of the Dune and everything. I guess everybody else thinks that her hair is dark. I'm like, okay, um, maybe I just misread some stuff. But still, we got yeah. I think I thought their relationship was kind of could have done more, but then again, he was Miss Frank Herbert here. He was focusing on so many other things in the book that having a proper relationship might not have been the best thing, but still, like it just seemed like kind of, oh yeah, here's this chick. Oh, next thing you know, they're married. It's like, oh, okay. It's it's just she didn't really get too much of a personality, which I mean, I guess that could be like talking about the role of women in it, because I think the very last line of the very last page of the book and very last line of the book was talking about how the women who don't become how the women who are the mothers are more powerful than the women who try to just keep their what do you call it, their bloodlines pure, and their try to go for political power. Like thing was like, I mean, I kind of felt bad for the princess in the end, like because Paul's just like, oh, I'm going to marry the princess, but she's never going to feel any of my love. It's all of my love is going to you, Johnny. And it's like, oh wow, that's kind of brutal on that. You kind of feel bad for her for a second. You kind of feel bad for that princess. That I'm just marrying you for the power. I'm not doing just so I can become emperor. So that's a yeah. Meanwhile, yeah, but still, once again, I guess, or maybe the love story was good because it's like they try to keep it pure, and they kept it pure, and they kept it, what do you call it, innocent and whatnot, where they're even, yeah. Overall, I'd say it's 5 out. I'd say it's a really good book. Give it a read if you're into science fiction or fantasy. It's it's a good read, but if it's not your kind of thing, you're probably not going to have the patience to read a 800-page book. That's about it. This book that I got here, I thought I was going to have a really hard time reading it because it's like it's so thin. I thought like, oh gee, I'm gonna like break the spine and everything trying to keep this book open, but surprisingly, I was able to keep it. Um, Good. So, anyways, I'm going to be moving on to the Dune sequels next. So, hopefully, I want to say I predict that it's going to be a tragedy for Paul Atreides here. It's going to be he's going to die alone or so. It's going to be a sad book. I'm not looking forward to it. Um, so my next book I read was called Goodbye Germ Theory. Goodbye Germ Theory by Dr. William Trebbing. All right. So now you can say like, oh, he's not a real doctor, he's a chiropractor. That's fine. Like, but basically what he goes through in this book is very true. It's how the and that where do I start? So it's basically the idea of germ theory is that there are these germs floating around everywhere that get you sick. Okay, and it's these germs that whenever you breathing them in or something, they get into you and then they start multiplying because they start eating you alive, and then they after that they can transfer to other people, and that's how you get sick. Meanwhile, he basically goes through the entire lack of scientific evidence that's ever been there for the proof of these things. He talks about yeah, and the alternative to germ theory is we have microzymes, which is the bacteria, which is like a proto kind of bacteria that, based on what you feed this microzyme, it can turn into like all the millions and millions of different types of bacteria out there. But he's saying, and basically based on what you feed them is what they turn into. So if you feed them a bunch of poison or bad stuff, they end up becoming E. coli or something bad, and then that's how all the entire microbiota that's in us that they all come out as a microzymes. And what is the guy named? Oh, there's Louis Pasteur. He was the fraud who basically perpetrated the idea of viruses and germ theory. Becamp, B.E. Champ. Okay, so B. Champ. I think it's pronounced Becamp though. Becamp. I don't know. He was a French guy, I think, and he ran all these experiments over and over and over again, and found that the that germs that the what do you call it? Microzymes are real, and and based on what you feed them, they do turn into different bacteria. And then once you have that different bacteria, if you start feeding them different things, that bacteria completely turns into a different bacteria, and so on and so on. So whenever the bacteria reproduce, initially it's going to be a microzyme that, depending on what you feed it, that's what it becomes. But then whenever you feed it something different, it becomes something else. So yeah, once again, this seems to go for the what you call it, the not Darwin's theory of evolution, but what do you call that guy? Lamont, was it Lamontian? Yeah, it was Lamont, General Lamont. Anyways, he had the theory of evolution that basically you had the giraffe. How a giraffe would happen is just you had a proto giraffe, which would be a gazelle looking thing. Basically, it keeps stretching its neck generation after generation to get the top leaves until eventually, and then its stretching neck gets moved on. Its stretched neck gets moved on generation after generation until it's a giraffe. And that's I don't know. I don't believe in either. I don't believe in I'm a creationist, so I am a creationist, and that's I don't buy into. I think what is Pasture, not Louis Pasteur, so Lamarckian evolution still requires, like, Lamarckian evolution makes a little bit more sense than Darwinian evolution, but still, that's a conversation for another time. Um, yeah, I'm a geology major. Like, I believed it for 24 and a half, I don't want to say 24 years of my life, I believed in evolution, like thinking it was real and it was the truth, and anybody who disagreed with it was just an idiot. Like, don't you understand that you can still have your religion and realize that God is the maker of evolution? Like, come on, like, no, dude, that's so stupid. Oh, I was such a fool because I just, the idea that what they taught you in school, what, like, they can teach you stuff in school and the teachers can still believe it, and it can still be wrong because the teachers believe it. And it's just it's why I promote the term so-called school. So anyways, yeah. So yeah, goodbye germ theory. There's a lot of other stuff in this. Like, he basically, vaccines cause autism. vaccines kill people, vaccines cause cancer. It's and how the whole medical establishment. Now, why would they not want to make people better? Why would they want to promote germ theory and not terrain theory, or what is it then, microzyme theory? Why would they want to do that? It's because they make so much money. Why would they, like, they can prescribe you a pill or anything and just mask that symptom, and then you're on pills for the rest of your life. And then if those pills create other symptoms we don't like, we can give you more pills, or maybe even an elective surgery that then needs a follow-up surgery and another follow-up surgery. It's just, they're just taking so much. It's all about money. And it's once you realize money is just like kind of this fake, just this kind of debt-based, just kind of nothing that look into. He also goes into what money is in the last chapter. It's very interesting because it's very interesting. This book is very good. I would recommend anybody read it. It's only like 200 something. Let's see, if you don't read all the affidavits and stuff that he added so people can like actually stand up to the school board and stuff and say, we're not vaccinating our child. It's 244 pages, but if you don't want the legal stuff at all, it's only 200 pages. Yeah. It's only 200 pages if you don't want to read the legal stuff at all. But I would suggest you read the legal stuff. It's really interesting. But basically, I think it's in 1933, the HJR 192 basically outlawed Americans from owning gold. And then, but of course, part of that House Joint Resolution was that it's interesting that since the American people are not trading anything of anything of intrinsic value, they are like entitled to an exemption from where the government can handle their debts, and accessing that exemption can be a very interesting process, which I'm trying to do right now, but we shall see. Yeah, this is 10 out of 10. Here, I'll just read a few of these. I'll read a few of these. Like he gives you like a big fury quick. If you need quick facts in a hurry, I'll read like 5 of them. I don't even know which one. Federal government reports confirm that vaccinations kill more than 3 children per week in America. Jonas Salk, national hero and creator of the famous Salk polio vaccine, made a public statement in 1976 that 2/3 of the cases of polio, which occurred between 1966 and 76, were caused by his vaccine. The DPT shot has been banned in most Europe and Japan since 1975 due to its extreme toxicity, but American children still receive this vaccine. And let's see, do we have anything else going on with the quick facts? Okay, here we go. 15 to 20% of American school children are considered to be learning disabled with brain damage dysfunction directly caused by vaccines. Your government pays out tens of thousands of tax dollars each year to cover vaccine damage claims. Unvaccinated populations are far healthier than vaccinated ones. However, no medical or government organization wishes to study them. Yeah, that's a big friggin' fraud right there. That's big fraud right there. Like, wouldn't that be the basis? You need a baseline for health, right? Anytime you need to run a study on these people, you learn about this. I learned about this in like psychology 101 or anything. Like, you need to have, okay, we have the test subjects, and then we have to have the placebo subjects, and then we have to have the uninterfered population as well. We see what happens to the baseline population, right? Which that means they receive no placebo, they receive no vaccination. Then you have the placebo people, and then you have actual people who've gotten actual vaccines. And you need to study all 3 of them to see their actual health over the course of their life. But nobody ever looks at the baseline people. They say, oh no, we have placebo people, those are our baselines. That's fraud. Anyways, next book we got going for us. Crops for the urban farmer. I guess I didn't finish it entirely. It's just crops. The last chapter he has is just based on like crops and how he does every single crop and good strategies for those crops. But I'm going to be reading those chapters whenever I actually start digging the garden. But he goes into a lot about the business side. Curtis Stone, he's a big YouTuber. Yeah, I think he has a big YouTube station and everything. And it's called The Urban Farmer Curtis Stone. I literally think that's just what it's called. But anyways, he's he talks all about these different gardening techniques. Let's see, A Farm in the City was chapter 1. Yeah, he basically talks about how you just get your rototiller. He was talking about how he would haul a rototiller around on a bicycle. That must have been crazy hard. But then again, I guess he only had his farm. The idea of his urban farm is that he would use people's yards and other people's plots to do a bunch of to produce a bunch of organic produce, and then he could sell it at like top dollar because he's right there in the city and people love like and it's really good branding because it's right there local, right there in the city. People are looking at their yards, they're always asking questions, and he can always sell all of his crops at top price. So he actually goes into a lot of business stuff in this book, which I mean, for me, that wasn't really that helpful. I might be like, I just kind of want to get a big garden so I can produce for my family and friends, family, friends, and neighbors. Yeah. And then maybe if I get really good at it someday, I'll start making money off it. But it's still, he just talks about different strat. It's a really good book just about gardening. Like, yeah. Let's see. He has a bunch of good pictures there. Yeah. He talks about, very different things like urban, semi-urban, and not urban and rural different farms, what the different strategies for them would be. But once again, he's all about, this entire book is very geared towards making money. Anyways, 10 out of 10, yeah. Germ Theory, I would give 5 out of 5. DUNE, I give 5 out of 5 as well. Yeah, these are all great books. I love them all. Yeah. Anyways, see you guys around.